order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Senator Steve Rawlings.
Here.
Representative William Lawrence. Pat Abel.
Here.
Rocky Adkins. Charles Byers. Jacqueline Coleman. Carol Henderson.
Here.
John Hicks.
Here.
Brian Hicks.
Here.
Patsy Jackson.
Here.
Holly Johnson.
Here.
Zach Ramsey. Danny Rhodes.
Here.
David Rhodes.
Here.
Senator Gary Boswell.
Here.
And Representative Ryan Dotson
Here.
presiding.
We do have a quorum, and before proceeding with business, we ask all members and guests to please silence their phones, and I'd like to ask Senator Boswell if he would to lead us in a word of prayer.
Lord, we thank you for letting us gather here today. Give us wisdom as we make decisions that affect the state of Kentucky. Lord, we pray for all our fellow Kentuckians that were involved in this bad weather. Lord, please give guidance and comfort and strength to those in the things that they need. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
And if you would, please stand with us as we pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Being the first meeting of the year, the only action item before the board today is the approval of last year's meetings minutes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to be approved.
Second, I have a motion and a second. Those minutes are approved. Does any member object? So we stand approved. We want to welcome new members today, as we have several new members to welcome to the board, along with several returning incumbents. Please help me in recognizing Senator Rawlings, Mr. David Rhodes, and my fellow co-chairman. And all members offer expertise in this capital planning process, and we thank you for serving on the board. Our new co-chair appointment is myself, Representative Ryan Dotson. New co-chair appointment is Senator Gary Boswell. New legislative member is Senator Steve Rawlings, and new Senate public member at large, David Rhodes.
We have two information items before the board today. The first lays out the general timeline and process for the capital planning period, and the second document provides an overview of state agencies and commissions that submitted capital plans but will not be testifying before the board. We thank all state agencies for their timely submissions and hard work in developing their capital plans. Many hours are spent behind the scenes, and it is much appreciated. Just a note to our board members and our packet organization. Behind each tab, you'll see the agency acronym or full name, and you'll see our capital planning reports. That is information that our agency representatives have submitted to the Capital Planning Advisory Board, and then also their PowerPoint presentations are behind, so whichever way you prefer to look at those materials, that information is there for you. If there are no questions on these documents, we will proceed with hearing the first round of capital plan overviews.
And to kick off the overviews, we have the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to present, along with representatives from several other state agencies. And for the sake of time, we do have a packed agenda today. We ask that presentations be kept at around 10 to 15 minutes. And with a representative from CHFS, please come to the table, identify yourselves for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Stack. I'm the incoming secretary for the cabinet and the current commissioner for public health.
Good afternoon. I'm Astrid Masterson with the Office of Administrative Services.
And Katie Marks, Commissioner for the Department for Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities.
Okay, so to kick us off, we have a general overview of our priorities for this capital plan. Our key items that we like to focus on for our capital plan is issues addressing critical and impacting public safety, safeguarding existing infrastructure and preventative maintenance, as well as enhancing existing structures to better serve our clients and our citizens. And so we'll see the first, we have our top 8 on here. And as you'll see, we have maintenance pool, Department for Public Health Central Lab Construction, Psychiatric Residential Treatment, Western State Nursing Facility, several Western State Nursing Facility, State Hospital, Hazelwood, and Oakwood. And the first item, our priority, is our maintenance pool, which is $21 million, as you can see. And the majority of that is used for the buildings that CHFS and the Commonwealth owns. We have 14 campuses with 175 buildings that we need to maintain with over 1.9 million square feet. And the majority of those properties are associated with behavioral health department.
Thank you. And then the construction of the new public health laboratory is something we've talked about before. You've already funded phase one, which is the design of the property, and we've already approved about $36 million, which is now being used with the design firm to actually get the plans ready in place. The request here is for phase two funding, which is actual construction. It is going to be about a 190,000 square foot facility. This is a highly specialized facility. This is not just office park. There are certain things that it does, like biohazard testing. So if someone gets a white powder in an envelope, we have to make sure it's not anthrax or ricin or a bioterrorist event. This is the only the only facility in the entire state that does that testing. And those laboratories have to have very enhanced biosafety level 3 design specs to make sure that people aren't harmed inside the building while they're doing this testing. We handle tuberculosis, multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. That's a biosafety level 2. These are not certifications that are widespread. The BSL-3 is nowhere else in the state. There are probably not many BSL-2 labs and none that do this particular testing, in addition to genetic sequencing and a variety of other things that we do for complex infectious diseases, milk safety, and we do all the newborn screening for the entire state by statute for all 52,000 or so live births. So this is an irreplaceable facility, the only one of its entire nature in the whole state that would never be sustainable in the private sector because of the specialized nature of what it does. And so this phase two financing is now to carry on the work that already started with phase one funding. And I've been part of those meetings. They are well underway and on their way to having plans already written so that when the funding is approved for phase two, they can break ground next fall and get right to work on building the new structure. The current one we have will be almost 40 years old by the time the new one's opened and has serious and significant limitations and flaws that really do impede its ability to do work. Multiple other states have already done this very type of modernization in the last few years and built their own new labs.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity again to articulate specifically the behavioral health facilities. First, we've identified a need to construct a psychiatric hospital to serve children and adolescents aged 6 to 21 years of age who are requiring intensive and specialized services because of what they experience is what we call serious emotional disturbance, which means that they have significant and complex mental health challenges. This would be an 18-bed facility that would be designed to provide long-term intensive treatment in a very structured environment for both children and adolescents who can't be adequately treated in a less restrictive environment. And this is part of a much larger, multifaceted set of solutions for our youth, particularly our DCBS, our Department for Community-Based Services, involved youth who are facing really significantly complex challenges and are in need of intensive services. We're working closely with the Justice Cabinet on a similar but separate facility to serve DJJ committed youth. And the cost estimate for this, because we've worked in close partnership with the Finance Cabinet, is based on a similar but separate facility that is identified in DJJ that would be based on the same scale and size. Next. And as part of our continuing planning process, the next 3 projects are focused on upgrading and renovating our Western State Hospital campus, which is inclusive of both Western State Hospital and Western State Nursing Facility. Just as a quick reminder, Western State Nursing Facility is a long-term care facility for older adults with serious mental illness who also have age-related medical complications requiring skilled nursing. And so the number 4 renovations, phase 2, is specifically to to continue to renovate the HVAC system, which will address remaining patient and staff building needs that began in a 2022 project. And the costs for that were established through the prior bid. The second is for Western State Hospital, as I'm sure you're aware, is one of our state-owned psychiatric hospitals that was built in 1854. And this is to repair or replace, depending on what we learn, its cooling tower, which is critical for supporting the cooling system of the entire facility and has now reached a critical stage requiring either repair or replacement. And the third, related to upgrading the HVAC system at Western State Hospital, is to repipe a chilling plant, which again addresses the final phase of addressing the larger HVAC system. We previously prioritized patient buildings and are now completing with the hospital chiller plant. Next is our Hazelwood facility. If you're not familiar, Hazelwood is a multi-floor intermediate care facility that provides residential services for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities who also have medical complexities, and this is in Louisville. Approximately 80% of these residents are non-ambulatory or unable to walk, and therefore the use of wheelchairs is prevalent and the elevator system is critical. There are 6 elevators within this center, and due to age and availability of parts, it's critical that we upgrade the elevator system to ensure regulatory compliance and safeties. Estimates for these costs were determined with an outside consultant. And finally, Oakwood renovation. This is part of a multi-phase renovation project for the Oakwood cottages. So as some of you may know, Oakwood serves clients with moderate or profound intellectual disabilities who also experience significant behavioral health problems and require 24-hour-a-day care. Oakwood's campus is in Somerset and includes 18 cottages, each housing about 12 individuals. And this is the next phase, the 4th phase of renovating cottages. To date, we have 9 that have been completed or are under renovation. This phase 4 will address the next 3 cottages and allow us to continue to upgrade those to meet patient safety and living standards.
Thank you so very much. That was a very timely presentation. We appreciate that. Just want to go. Yes.
Before you move on.
Yes, sir.
After you, go ahead.
Just wanted to clarify, and you answered really one of the questions that I had was concerning the youth facility, and so that would be in conjunction because I see that Department of Juvenile Justice has that as a priority, number 12 for them. So it would be the same facility basically.
It would be a separate facility, but it houses both will care for individuals who have high acuity needs,
Sure.
but one facility would be for DJJ involved youth, and the other facility would primarily support DCBS involved youth or other youth that are in need of that level of care.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. Thank you so much. Senator Boswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been a lot of talk in Frankfurt, at least in the circles I'm in, about vacant buildings, the various agencies. How many of all the buildings that you have, do you have any vacant buildings, and how many do you have?
I'm not aware of vacant buildings. I can look into it further, but that is not something, as to the ones that we own, that I'm aware of.
Well, we went through COVID. It was a period of time where a lot of our employees, various agencies, employees got to working from home. And as a result of that, a lot of those buildings became vacant. And so I know there's some out there. I'm just not sure exactly who has them. So if you check that, if you have some, I'd like to have that information. The only other question I had was there was one facility there that was, I think it was 21.6 million. It was an 18-bed facility. So if I understand that correctly, that's about $1.9 million per bed.
That's correct. That's the Children's Psychiatric Hospital. The decision to build an 18-bed facility was based on licensure standards of maximum capacity for that unit. We do know that caring for these youth is requires additional investment above and beyond what we normally see in the community, but it was based on that licensure cap at 18 for that unit.
Thank you.
Is there any other members that have questions? Mr. Hicks?
It does. It was in fact based on that same estimate that they used consultants for, and then a slight increase in inflation. They estimated 18.5 million. This added a 2.6 inflation rate. for 18 beds, yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Marks, we've had a lot of discussions over the last several years about the needs of this population, this youth population. Can you give us just a little bit of a background on the efforts that the cabinet has made leading up to the decision of needing a state facility?
Right, thank you. Yes, this wasn't the first response is building a facility. There's been so many different initiatives that are underway, some of them demonstrating really positive success. We led in one direction by partnering with the private sector to increase our capacity through a partnership with River Valley, which is one of our community mental health centers, to create facility space paired with them. And so we've seen small successes in that small 10-bed unit. DCBS has been doing tremendous work between investing in upstream prevention and trying to reach kids before crisis occurs, to increasing investments in home care, whether it's foster families that need additional support or adoptive families that need more intensive services. We're also doing that work. We have a daily call every morning to talk about the kids that are in the highest need of services, to care coordinate across so many different agencies to make sure that we're not only finding them their next placement, but finding them their long-term placement. So this is a part of a much larger initiative. We are restructuring the way we do payment in DCBS so that we have a broader system of care. We are applying for waivers to increase our capacity to serve youth with high acuity needs. This is one piece of a much larger puzzle. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Well, thank you for your presentation today, and we ask for the next presenters to come on up, if they would, and identify yourself. Make sure the green light is on. Welcome to the Kentucky Department of Education. And when you're ready, just state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Worth. I'm with the Office of Finance and Operations.
My name is Walter Hewlett, and I'm with the Kentucky Department of Education.
Can you make sure your green light's on there?
Oh,
there you go. Start again for me.
Walter Hewlett, Kentucky Department of Education, and I do capital construction.
Move us to the next slide. There we go. Thank you for having us this afternoon. I just want to give you a really brief overview. We have 3 state-operated facilities at the Kentucky Department of Education overseas. One in Danville, Kentucky, which is the Kentucky School for the Deaf. Those are residential schools where students with hearing and even multiple disabilities reside. We also have the Kentucky School for the Blind, which is located in Louisville, also a residential facility. And then we have the Future Farmers of America, or they've shortened it now to just FFA, the Leadership Training Center in Hardinsburg. That is a camp that approximately 3,000 to 4,000 students a year go to learn leadership skills and the FFA Ag program through our career and technical education. I wanted to just touch on a couple of projects that are currently funded. We are very, very grateful to the Governor's Office and to the General Assembly for the funds that have been appropriated to the department in the past for these facilities. We have 2 in particular that are funded now, but after receiving bids on one construction project and after doing a competitive solicitation for an IT project, we realized that we needed to ask for more funds. So you will see a couple of projects that are existing, but we are asking for additional funding. The first would be the FFA LTC Classroom and Activity Building. We have received funds for that. Of course, that was an estimate that after supply and demand issues and increased costs due to COVID to square footage, we've come in way over on our bid. So we have asked for additional funding for that activity classroom center at FFA. The other one is our education finance application system. The department's largest appropriation is the SEEK appropriation, which is the Support Education Excellence in Kentucky, the largest fund source for our school districts. And we are working on a new system that will give us the ability to run different types of scenarios for legislators and for the governor's office as they create the budget for the next biennium. We have 10 projects on our 6-year plan, 8 of which we're asking for in the first biennium. I'll just go really briefly to save time. I won't go into a lot of detail, but we'll be happy to take detailed questions. Of course, our first priority is always a maintenance pool. That pool gives us the ability to continue to maintain our campuses for those projects that come in under under $1 million. We also have our second is what we've talked about previously, the FFA LTC Classroom Activity Center, the additional funding to complete that. Our third is our SEEK rewrite, our education finance application. And then our next project is, again at FFA, it's our swimming pool renovation and repair project. This swimming pool was opened in 1950. And we've recently had a review and someone come and give us a real good, thorough go-over of the pool, and it's got a lot of work that needs to be done. So this pool not only serves as recreation for our campers, but it also provides a place for safety training. So we have listed it as one of our top 4 priorities. We also have, at our state schools, we also have electrical upgrades project. This will allow us to upgrade infrastructure areas in the electrical parts of our buildings that are past our service year of 20 years. We have been able to touch on some of those with past projects, but there are still needs across all 3 campuses. We also have what we're calling our state school campus education enhancements project. We have, these schools are residential. We have students that, after 2:30, some kids are getting on a bus and going back to their district and they're going home. But we have a lot of kids that stay there. That's their home from Sunday night to Friday afternoon. So we're looking to try to enhance the after-school experience for these students. We have a situation in Louisville where in order to navigate a city block, they have to walk out on Frankfort Avenue. We would like to be able to enhance the actual inside of the campus so that those kids can get real-world experiences outside of and keep them safe on the campus. So we have some different ideas for education enhancements. Also working with visually impaired preschoolers, which is VIPS. We receive a appropriation in our budget for them. They have some wonderful ideas that we are working with them in a partnership to enhance both our blind and deaf residential schools. Our next is a lighting upgrade. Both of our schools, while one might be for the deaf and one might be for the blind, we have multiple disability children at each of those schools, and they could have blind and they could be hard of hearing and have vision impairments. So we have done a lot of research with the blind and deaf community and have tried to really work towards enhancing the experience for the children as far as being able to use LED lighting to make adjustments to make it much better for our students so that they can learn at their full potential. Safety and security, this has been a pool we've asked for the last several biennium and been funded. We've been able to do many things on our campuses. Again, with it being residential, safety and security of our students and our staff is utmost priority for us. We have a door and window project, again, something that will help with accessibility. Some of these have been repaired and replaced in past projects, but we do have the need for a pool to continue to do that. And then our last one is we received a large HVAC pool that we have been able to renovate, repair, or replace just about every HVAC on all 3 campuses, and we're so appreciative of that. This pool that we would ask for in the third biennium of this budget would be to keep maintaining those units as we move further into their operations. We'll be happy to take any questions. I hope I didn't take too much time.
No, you're just fine. Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
How many children?
Will you turn your mic on there, sir? Thank you. Make sure the green light's on. Yes.
How many children
with your residential and those that are transported each day, they'll run 100 to 110 students each campus. That number is fluid, but keep in mind they're also were the state resource across Kentucky for children that are deaf and hard of hearing, as well as blind or limited vision. So we have a multitude of programs and students that are on campus for what we call short course. So they'll be there for specific intense training and then go back to their home district. So we serve, if you look at across the Commonwealth, we'll serve, over 1,000 students, that at some point in time on the 2 campuses coming and going.
Thank you. It's a good question. Anyone else? Senator Boswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so on items number three, let's see, no, 2 and 4, the FFA classrooms and the swimming pool, particularly on the swimming pool. So why do you need a 13,000? I mean, that sounds pretty good size. That's about a quarter of acre. Is that right?
It's Olympic size.
13,000 square feet.
That might be a typo, Senator Boswell. I'll have to go back and check on that, okay? It's an existing pool now. I don't know the exact size of it. So let me go back and check with staff.
I just built a brand new pool. My daughter said, I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and I didn't know she wanted a pool. It was about 75,000. That's everything. So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
Something's not right there.
Okay, I will check on that and send you an email.
Dr. Jackson, you have a question?
I do, thank you. It's a great presentation. My question is pertaining to the outcomes of the students that you serve. Does your agency track the outcomes of the students to just kind of see the impact of this opportunity on the lives of those students?
Yeah, and we're operations folks, so can't really speak on the programmatic side, but can tell you what I know. And I do know that there is, that the Office of Special Education and Early Learning does track the students there. And we've often seen that a lot of the students will come back to the campus. Those 2 areas are such a community. The neighbors they're sold on those campuses. They're supporting them. And so many times we have former students that come back and they're workers. They're working at the campuses. So we do keep track of our students, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Rawlings?
Not too many years ago, you would estimate building a house at $100 a square foot. Are you guided by cost per square foot, or are the estimates based on that? And can you say what, specifically the classroom and activity center, because they're buildings, can you say what this is costing per square foot?
What we're using, that's a great question. Prior to COVID, like many school districts that I can't, that's where I come from, is public education, is we were using about a $190, and then we hit pre-COVID about a 10% multiplier. With COVID and delivery services and the scarcity of product as we see globally, we're now having to go with about a 30% multiplier, and even that, I can tell you that we're in a project right now that is just in demo, and we ordered the generator 6 months ago in a separate project, or separate, as part of this, and it's still a 1-year delivery date. So, and we can't get final cost from a supplier until it's actually ready to ship. So we have to have in our contingency some flexibility, because these numbers are fluid constantly on supply and demand, and that's just what's out there.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Another great question. Anyone else? All right. Thank you all so very much. Great presentation. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, at this time we have to move on with education and labor. If you make your way to the front and give us your names, make sure your green light's on for the record. Give us your names and you may proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Vicki Wise. I'm the Deputy Secretary for the Education and Labor Cabinet. I apologize for allergies today. I think I'm sounding a little low, maybe like Barry White. Apologies. I'd like to introduce those who are with me here today.
I'm Callie Arnold, Legislative Director.
Jake Fouts. I'm the Assistant Director of Fiscal Management.
The Education and Labor Cabinet has 12 priority projects, and in the interest of time, I've prepared a summary for each one of them that explains the needs. So I will read those as the priorities are placed on the PowerPoint. We'll be happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation, and we also have Shannon Maggard here from KET in the event that there are any questions related to the KET projects. The first project is the State Labor Exchange System for Workforce Development. To better connect people to careers, this system helps job seekers interface with potential employers. In turn, our workforce staff will work with job seekers to determine and match their skills and qualifications with positions offered by participating employers. The database will provide a list of participating employers and positions available for hiring. There is no cost to participate. It is available to every employee and every employer in the state. The second priority project is to renovate the McDowell Vocational Rehabilitation Center. The Office of Vocational Rehabilitation provides rehabilitation services to eligible individuals with disabilities to assist with entry or re-entry into employment and productivity in the workplace and the community. OVR operates the Carl Perkins Vocational Training Center in Thelma, Kentucky, and the Charles McDowell Center for the Blind in Louisville. Both centers operate 24/7 facilities. The McDowell Center provides services to prepare Kentuckians blind or visually impaired for employment, economic self-sufficiency, and to integrate into society with independence. The center is now 30 years old, and because of its age, minor repairs are no longer sufficient. We're facing safety concerns and potential code violations. The project would renovate the facility's dorms and office wing. The third priority project is the new Adult Education and Family Literacy Management Information System. We refer to that as the MIS project. The Office of Adult Education's current system does not have sufficient case management capabilities to track required student data. Operational systems are limited and the tracking systems are inadequate. As a result, federal compliance has become even more challenging and performance monitoring is less accurate. The new system will be more efficient and better aligned with federal requirements and state priorities such as the justice-impacted second chance populations and the adult learners transitioning to post-secondary education and training. Project number 4 is for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing needs at KET's facilities. The Network Center buildings were built in 1967 and 1990. Without necessary attention, there are significant risks to safety and operations. Our fifth priority is to construct a new KDLA warehouse building. KDLA is Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives, and the State Records Center provides storage for 500,000 cubic feet of archival holdings and records. On average, an additional 17,000 cubic feet is added each year. At this rate, KDLA estimates that they will reach capacity in 2027. And despite the increased use of digital formats, the amount of space needed is not expected to decrease in the near future. This priority request would replace the existing State Records Center, which is located in Frankfort. This space has been leased from a non-state entity since 2014. In 2014, the annual lease was $545,765. Now, KDA pays nearly $671,000 annually, and that does not include the operational costs for utilities and janitorial services. Over 11 years, KDLA has spent nearly $6 million to lease this building. Under this priority proposal, all records preserved at the State Records Center would be relocated to a new climate-controlled facility that will house existing collections and accommodate growth for the next 50 years. Priority number 6 is the KET's Phase 4 production system. ATSC 3.0 is a new standard authorized by the FCC. It's launching nationwide, and Phase 4 is a continued implementation of IP-based television technical standards. KET has 3 studio locations in Lexington, Louisville, and Frankfort. The production infrastructure was upgraded in phases between 2009 and 2016. These computer-based systems will be at 10 to 17 years old in 2026. The current request is only for the Lexington location. Number 7, KET's Tower Site Next Gen Public Safety Resiliency Project. KET is relied on by NOAA and the Kentucky State Police and FBI and others to provide public safety and emergency information. Funds for this project will be used to update UPS, generators, and HVAC systems to maintain reliable services to the Commonwealth. Number 8 is KET's Production Mobile Unit. A production mobile unit would allow KET to take productions on the road to more communities across the Commonwealth. This mobile unit will provide more opportunities for interaction, forums, and on-site coverage. And then regarding 9 and 10, I'd like to talk about those together for just a minute. To give a little bit of background for those of you that may not be familiar with the merger. In July of 2022, the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet and the Labor Cabinet merged, and they are now what we refer to as the Education and Labor Cabinet. As a result of the merger, the Cabinet now has the Carl Perkins and Charles McDowell Centers, as well as the Workforce Development Career Centers across the state. Priority project number 9 is related to the maintenance for the Perkins and McDowell Centers. This regular maintenance pool is for the maintenance projects and emergency repairs on the Perkins and McDowell Centers. Priority request number 10 is for the maintenance pool that's related to the Department for Workforce Development Facilities. This regular maintenance pool is for, again, projects and emergency repairs for the Cabinet's Workforce Development Career Centers across the state. Number 11 is KET's maintenance pool. This maintenance pool provides support to KET's network center production and broadcast facilities and 15 transmitter buildings and towers located throughout the Commonwealth. And finally, number 12, KET Capital Production Center Maintenance Pool. This is another maintenance pool, and it provides funding to continue operations using the statewide broadcast network. It is critical to continue receiving funding for the cost of equipment replacement and ongoing maintenance. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. And again, Shannon Maggart is in our audience, and she's the Senior Director of Finance at KET.
Thank you for that presentation. I have a quick question, because I'm learning this as I go. But with KET, is it just fully funded by the state, or are there other avenues of income to KET? Would you please come to the table?
Yes, we do have a foundation as well, which is separate from any of these items, that is funded separately through grants.
What percentage of that? Do you have a percentage breakdown?
Total budget, or how much federal?
How much are what the state gives as compared to the donation base?
It is 85%.
Funded by the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Around there. I don't know the exact number, I'm sorry, but around 80 to 85.
Thank you. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Sorry, it's Shannon Maggard.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deputy Secretary Wise, the number 1 item is which is a state labor exchange, which is kind of a term of art for people trying to find jobs.
Correct.
What would this system replace or enhance?
Well, the system that we currently have does not do an adequate enough job with connecting our job seekers and the employers that we have. We want or need one that's more job and more user-friendly for the public, and that it enhances the ability for employees or potential job seekers to be able to go on site to find the jobs that they are qualified for. We believe with our work staff working with job seekers that they can maximize the experiences and determine the qualifications that job seekers have to better match them with those that are looking for employees to hire.
Senator Rawlings?
The Kentucky Department for Library and Archives, that just seems like such an excessive amount of money. $12 million. Is that just to store old books? And I also wondered why, in the age of the internet, why many of these can't be stored online. Now that we have these capabilities, why are we storing old documents for $12 million?
Well, I'll let Mr. Faust speak to the budget, but as it relates to the documents that we have are documents that have already been gathered and collected. And so we have documents of historical value. We have to continue keeping those documents. And even though we're in the digital age, lots of people believe that there's no longer a need to have a physical facility to store documents, but it still hasn't caught up with the paper documents that we are receiving.
Okay. I just wish there was more of a creative way of doing this and times financially savings for taxpayers. Not one resident of Kentucky is going to go into that facility. I shouldn't say that, not one, but so few people are going to go into that facility to look up these books. So anyway, just want to make that comment.
Senator Owens, from a financial aspect, and Deputy Secretary Wise kind of mentioned it as she was talking through, but we do have a record facility that we keep right now. We're spending quite an absorbent amount of money on that just to lease it. This is a lot of money up front, but in the long run, it will save the state money. And the cost, we are doing a feasibility study, but this is based on our facilities team doing a lot of work, and there's some other states that have already built facilities that are similar. So that's where we're looking into it.
All right. Well, thank you for that perspective.
Anyone else? Any questions? That'll be all. Thank you all so very much for your timely presentation.
Thank you.
And at this time, with the Energy and Environmental Cabinet, they would just come forward, state your names in the microphones, make sure your green light is on, and then you may proceed.
Good afternoon. I am John Lyons, Deputy Secretary of the Cabinet.
I'm Corey Troutman, Director for
You
Financial.
speak in the microphone. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Corey Troutman, Director for Financial Management.
Before Corey gets
Turn your
started,
microphone. I think your is the green light on?
it's probably, no, there you go.
There you go. Try it now. State your name again.
Corey Troutman, Director for Financial Management.
Thank you.
It looks like it's on, but it's.
It does.
Before Corey gets started, I'd just say that for those of you who may have seen our capital plan in the past, it'll look familiar because these are the big ticket items that the Cabinet deals with on an ongoing basis. And so with the interest of time, we'll get right into it.
All right, our first slide here just shows our amounts that we've included in our request. EEC is asking for general fund to be utilized over 3 agencies within our Cabinet Secretary's Office, Environmental Protection, and Natural Resources. So what we'll go over today is just the first biennial request. We've got 6 requests you can see there on the slide, and we'll go into each one a little further. Our first request for maintenance pool is $1 million for 3 agencies within the Cabinet that have state-owned properties that require upkeep. The first one, Maxey Flats Disposal Site near Moorhead. We've also got various state forests and nature preserves throughout the Commonwealth, and all of these facilities need upkeep, maintenance, and equipment.
And just to give you all a scale of what we deal with there, we have 10 state forests encompassing 49,000 acres. We have 70 nature preserves and natural areas encompassing 32,000 acres. And that Maxey Flats disposal site is obviously a very specialized site. The capped area is 55 acres. and it's in maintenance at this point in time. We obviously have to take very special care of that site.
All right, our second request is for state-owned dam repair, $21 million. The cabinet oversees 76 state-owned dams, each classified based on risk and condition. So the dams included in this request are all classified as high hazard. That means their failure could result in the loss of human life and significant property damage. The cabinet is responsible for assessing and prioritizing the dam repair needs, and is currently working on 8 different sites. So this funding is essential to complete those ongoing projects and to begin work on the other high hazard, high priority sites. And many of these, we want to point out, they're critical water supply sources for their surrounding communities.
And I would add that, just like the previous presentation, cost for doing this work is just exorbitantly high these days. Supply chain, labor, and dams are just inherently expensive to repair and upkeep.
All right, our next request is a routine request for Superfund site cleanup of $6 million. This will address various sites throughout the Commonwealth. And KRS 224.1-400 gives the cabinet the authority to respond to environmental emergencies involving hazardous substance releases. So this could range from contaminations of heavy metals such as arsenic or lead to the polychlorinated biphenyls or the PCBs. We also see several chemical releases from older dry cleaning facilities where chemicals have gone into the water sources there. The statute directs the EEC to be the lead agency for these hazardous substance pollutants for the emergency responses. And we've currently got a list of about 12 priority sites that this funding will be used for. These sites are already in the design phase or pending construction phase.
And again, very expensive cleanup to excavate and dispose of these toxic waste, many of them found in residential areas that we've dealt with over the years, and we think it's very important, obviously, to get that out of the public's domain there.
This next slide just shows the maps of the sites. We've got active sites managed, and then once the sites are remediated, they can be redeveloped for a brownfield redevelopment program.
And we do have a very robust redevelopment brownfields program. Active means it's monitoring or under remedial work. Managed means it's closed with the waste still there and being managed in that fashion.
All right, our next request is for replacement of unsafe fire equipment used by our Division of Forestry. This is tied to our routine replacement schedule in the division. KRS Chapter 149 directs the cabinet to establish and maintain a statewide system of forest fire prevention, detection, and suppression. And so the dozers and transports included in this request help the Division of Forestry respond to those fires. They're needed to clear vegetation, create fire lines, just get rid of the brush and topsoil that will stop the fire from spreading.
And very importantly, these new dozers have HEPA filters on them and enclosed cabs and keep our firefighters safe. The older ones do not.
All right, our next request is for the Kentucky Abandoned Storage Tank and Orphan Well Program. This is for $1 million in another routine project that will be used to remove and plug abandoned tanks and wells across the Commonwealth. There's still thousands of these scattered throughout the state, and the tanks pose serious safety risk due to the residual oil and sludge that's left in there that can emit flammable vapors. So these are highly combustible and can ignite from sparks or heat, just increasing the risk of fire and explosion. In addition, plugging the wells will also help make the land more suitable for farming and development and other productive uses. And this next slide just shows how we've used the previous funding and where it's been used for throughout the state there. All right, our last request is for land acquisition and maintenance of $5 million for the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund. So this program has a long, successful history of acquiring land from willing sellers to establish various nature preserves, state forests, wildlife management areas throughout the Commonwealth. The fund's primary source of revenue has historically been the unmined minerals tax, but that's declined over the last few years, and this request seeks new funding to continue their program and support those.
Obviously, these lands are appraised at fair market value, and we're working on 2 or 3 properties right now. You'll be surprised about how many people come forward and want to put their land into this trust system. That will take questions.
Thank you so much for your timely presentation. I do have a question with Senator Rawlings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When in your discussion of the Superfund and PCBs and other chemicals, has your department taken any position on fluoride? Fluoride has now been banned in Utah and in Florida, and it's essentially a industrial waste product. A lot of people are concerned about it. It's a big topic right now. Do you take any position on? Do you classify that in any way?
Senator Rollins, not to my knowledge. I don't know that fluoride is on the hazardous pollutant list. I'll go back and check on that just to make sure, but certainly I don't know of any sites where fluoride is an issue.
All right. Thanks.
Co-Chair Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple questions. So under the capping of some of these wells, I guess some of these were bonded, but these were probably all pre-bonding, or the bonding's not, there was no bonding in force to take care of these abandoned wells.
That's correct, Senator. Yes.
Okay. And then, so the Division of Forestry is completely under your department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I should have known that, but I didn't. And last question is, in the acquisition of lands, can you give me an idea? Do you have any of those in Western Kentucky? Where are those located, just roughly?
Senator, I would have to go check. I'm not aware of any that we're trying to acquire right now in Western Kentucky. I think the last one we may have had involvement with was Big River's wildlife management area out on the Ohio River. I think that's Henderson County or
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Union
Green
County.
River
Thank you,
National
sir.
Wildlife Refuge is in Henderson County, which is borders on my district.
Yeah.
And that's like 22,000 acres.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there any more questions? Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now we would like for the Finance and Administration Cabinet, if they would, to make their way to the front. And again, if you would state your name for the record, make sure the green light is on, and then you may proceed. It's moving along pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think the time is great. Hello, how are you all? I am Holly Johnson. I am the Secretary of the Finance and Administration Cabinet.
Charles Bush, Interim Commissioner of Facilities.
Okay, and I don't know if we have Scott on the.
Yeah.
don't know if
Scott Baker with Finance Administration Cabinet, Division of Engineering Contract Administration.
Okay.
My apologies for not being there in person today.
Oh, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Of course, at the Finance Cabinet, we have several agencies, and most of the capital requests that we bring to you each biennium are pretty familiar. You'll see many of the same requests each time. We have as our first request, and it's generally always our first priority, is our maintenance pool. We have multiple buildings that we are responsible for maintaining in the Capitol here. 79 is what it says here that we maintain, and that is plumbing, electrical, mechanical systems. So we always ask for the maintenance pool as our top priority. If you look through here, we also include roof and asphalt pools that are a little bit farther down in the priorities. And we also have deferred maintenance for our historic properties. So those are along the same lines of the type of things that we do every year that we request funding for in our capital plan. Our maintenance pool is $17,500,000, and that is pretty consistent. I think that last year it was $15 million. Our next priority that we asked for is Old State Capitol Annex restoration. This is something that we encountered as another planned project for improvements to the plumbing and bathroom facilities of that property were undertaken, and we got in and started tearing up the walls and the ceilings in there, and discovered that there were much greater issues that needed to be addressed. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Scott to talk about what we found specifically in the Old State Capitol.
Thank you, Secretary. So when we went in to do the light renovations of the Old Capitol Annex, we pulled out some of the ceilings. We noticed there were significant deterioration of the brick arches were part of the issues, and the entire second floor is supported by old antique brick archwork that entails the first floor. And then further investigation, we found somewhere in the 70s, it appears a renovation was done, and they just, lack of a better way of saying it, looks like they just knocked holes in the walls in order to run mechanical equipment into the building. So there's significant structural issues that were there where brick were already falling, were already loose in the main structural supports in the center of the building. So because of discovering those issues when we did, we immediately had the tenant, the Cabinet Economic Development that's normally in that building, we had them move out immediately because it was determined to be unsafe. And we did further investigations of just how serious that damage is and how serious the structural issues are. And that's what this budget's based on, is since we're going to have to be so invasive to replace the structural elements of the building, then it makes sense to go ahead and do the full renovation of the entire structure at the same time, because you're going to have to tear so much of it out in the process to restabilize and properly support the structural elements that were damaged many years ago. And again, over time, it looks like they just continued to slip and fall. And you know how brick are. They may sit there and look good for a year or so, but then you look up and they're loose and falling. And that's what we discovered when we were doing preliminary work to start the smaller renovation project.
Thank you. Our next priority is the construction phase 2 of the CHR renovation. The Cabinet for Human Resources and Health Services building is been in need of major upgrades, and these upgrades are currently occurring, and this is just continuation of those upgrades. So this is going into phase 2, and there will be additional phases that will continue through that. Can you speak to what is in phase 2?
I believe we started out taking the escalators out,
Mm-hmm.
and we replaced those with a new elevator bank. So we're working on mechanical systems, and I believe we'll start at the top, 6th floor, and we'll work our way down. So you'll probably see 5 or 6 phases in this project to get the entire building up to snuff.
If I can add to that, the current project that we have as part of phase 1 is also replacing all of the exterior windows on that 6th floor. And the next phase will just continue as Commissioner was saying, moving us down the structure to replacing that envelope.
The next priority is elevator upgrades, phase 2. So this again is part of our responsibility to the buildings that we own as a state. So this is part of just upgrades to general maintenance that we have a responsibility for the properties that we own, and ensuring that these elevators are in good shape and that we continue to maintain and upgrade those as needed. So we have $5 million in a request for that. The next request I referenced was deferred maintenance for historic properties. We own several historic properties that include the old state capitol and annex, which we have the separate for that, but it's part of what we have here. The old governor's mansion, the new governor's mansion, Berry Hill, Bess Lindsay House, the Frankfurt Cemetery, and this new state capitol complex. So when these buildings have repairs that are necessary, we do have to do maintenance for those and do restoration and repair needs. So we have $10 million in request for that. And this is a continuation that we've requested in the past and are requesting again. Our next request is Enterprise Application and AI Inventory System. We are getting more and more requests from the agencies through COT for programs and systems that have an AI element. One of the things that we are learning and beginning to understand is one of the base necessary things that you must do as you have AI be a part of your enterprise is that you need to track it, inventory it, know what you have, and know what it does so that you can keep track of it, keep inventory of it. But that is one of the base necessary aspects of having AI systems throughout your enterprise. I do have Jim Barnhart here, who is with COT, that can speak in more depth of detail if we have questions later on that. But this is part of necessary security systems, making sure that it's operating in the manner that it should be, or so that you can track things that are happening. So that is one of the requests that we have, and that's $6 million, so that would be a base system. Generator repairs in various buildings is number 7. We are requesting to replace generators that we have set in various buildings. Many of them are past their useful life. We have put in a request for $7.5 million for that. Legacy modernization, this is a repeat request. We have asked for this multiple times and has been funded. This is where we take old computer programs that the various agencies are running on, legacy systems we call them, and offer the ability to use these funds to upgrade these to more modern systems. So it allows agencies who are operating on systems that are no longer sustainable to upgrade those systems. So legacy modernization, that is a $10 million ask. And again, the asphalt pool I mentioned, we have, as it says here, 3 million square feet of parking lots throughout the state that we maintain. So we go through and we rotate around and try to repave those parking lots as we can. Same with the roof pool. We have numerous buildings across the state. It says here 596,000 square feet of roof systems, which we need to rotate through and replace to keep those from being problematic. So the request on the roof pool is $3 million. This is a request that we have made in the past that was not funded. It is for EV charging stations. One of the things that we are working towards we are required to work towards is to have certain amount of alternate fuel vehicles, alternate fuel based on federal standards that exist, and also some state law that talks about how we have to have a certain amount of alternative fuel. We have been able to do that historically with
state parks?
No, natural gas, is that what it is, Tina? Natural gas vehicles, but they are getting more difficult to fuel. So we are looking toward EV charging and electric vehicles to become part of that fleet to be able to meet those standards. And obviously, if we do that, then we are going to need more opportunities for charging those vehicles. So we are asking for $1.7 million there. CEMCS is a continuation of the implementation of the Commonwealth Energy Management and Control System, and that is across all agencies. It's just a way to monitor, measure, and report our energy and energy savings and consumption throughout our buildings. It's a very impressive system, and this is a $2 million ask for that. And then acquire land and demolish structures statewide. Franklin County lease space report determined the Commonwealth needed to reduce its dependence on privately owned lease space, and this would allow us to do so. And this is a $7.5 million ask. So that is the request for the upcoming biennium in our capital request.
Thank you so much. I have a quick question. When it comes to the EV charging station, do we charge customers or folk who use that, or is that something that
we just put in two out here in the parking lot, and we do not charge. I'm pretty sure we do not charge, do we? Do we charge? We do charge. Okay, we do charge.
Okay, thank you. Senator Rawlings?
What strikes me when going through each of these is the hundreds of millions of dollars we're spending on the capital renovation. How would you explain from a fiduciary standpoint to the taxpayers of paying currently for the capital reconstruction and the old capital restoration, and many of these? I understand you have to deal with a lot of these, like roofing, obviously, things like that. But how would you explain that to the taxpayers that we're paying for that and we're paying for all these other things at the same time? And can it wait? Can some of these wait until the Capitol building is completed?
Well, I mean, we make these maintenance requests annually. The maintenance is there. I know that we went through a long time of not deferred maintenance, but a long time of maintenance that was deferred because we did not have money for it. And I think that what you find is when you defer maintenance, it ends up costing a lot more to try to make those repairs on things that have deteriorated quite a bit more. So I think that what we're trying to do is ensure that we are doing the appropriate maintenance to keep the facilities that the state owns from deteriorating to a point where it costs the taxpayer more in the future to repair those things. So repair, maintain rather than repair, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Chairman Dotson, may I follow up?
Yes.
But what about the old Capitol building? Is anyone in it right now, and couldn't that wait until the current Capitol building is done? It seems, if you went out and polled the citizens, I doubt if they would be okay with renovating the two at the same time and spending that kind of money when it could just wait. Could it wait?
Well, we've already started doing some work on it.
And you're talking about the old Capitol
Yes.
Annex, not the old Capitol.
Yeah, Capitol Annex, yeah.
Right, and I think there was a case of when they started peeling things back, the building was trying to come down. So if we waited, it may cost us more in the long run.
All right. Well,
yeah. To add to that, the old Capitol Annex building, again, we had to move the tenants out. There's no way we can reoccupy that building or put anyone back in it until this work is complete, and at least the structural stabilization is complete, and the structural stabilization is going to require basically the gutting of the interior of that building. So then you're going to have to do the rest of the work in order to make the building suitable to utilize again. So, and that kind of goes in support of what we're looking at doing at CHR, is to get out in front of those things so that we don't end up in a situation where we're forced to vacate portions of the CHR complex because we did not proactively address issues within that building before they became issues where we had to vacate, like what happened at Ocapel Annex. So,
Okay.
if
All right.
that
Thank
helps.
you.
Thank you. Senator Boswell?
Yes, so getting back on the number of 11, the EV charging stations, that makes reference to Senate Bill 281, which was passed in 2023 by the legislature. And it was my understanding the intent of that bill was for vehicles with alternate fuels that had to do with hybrid vehicles, not purely electric vehicles. But what you're dealing here with number 11 is strictly electric vehicles.
It is strictly electric vehicles, and I don't have my fleet person here with me today, but I do know that there are some federal requirements in terms of credits, that they have to have a certain number of credits, and the hybrids don't allow them to get the credits that they have to have federally.
Okay.
That
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. I think there may be some changes coming. We won't talk about that today.
Sure. He could get more into that. I know that there are credits that are required.
Any other questions? Yes.
I just have one. Thank you. And it may be here, and I've overlooked it. I've read it a couple times, so if I did, just forgive me for that. But it is also on number 11, and that is, once these are installed, what is the maintenance cost to actually maintain those stations, or how often do they have to be redone, repeated, upgraded?
I will have to get that
standard?
information for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Secretary Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got one comment and another question. I think I was in high school when my mother moved into the CRHR building back in the 70s, so I understand the age of that. But on the enterprise application and AI inventory system, am I correct in that part of this system would be to comply with the recently enacted Senate Bill 4, which was from the 25 session, that put in a governance process for state government's utilization of artificial intelligence?
It definitely would be a piece of that. The Senate Bill 4 does call for an inventory and a registry, so absolutely.
Any other questions on the panel? If not, I want to thank you, Secretary Johnson. Appreciate it. And at this time, we'll have the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet make their way to the desk. If you would, just make sure your microphone is on. Give us your names for the record, and you may proceed.
Low. I think I'm sitting very low. There we go, that's better. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Can you pull your mic up just a little bit?
Sure.
Is the green light on?
Yes, it is.
All right, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Mona Womack. I'm the Deputy Secretary at the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet, and with me is Rebecca Norton, the Executive Director of our Office of Financial Management. Okay, the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet is a vast cabinet. We're comprised of 6 departments. We employ over 8,000 people, and we provide essential public safety services to the Commonwealth. As you can see from the slide, we have the Department of Juvenile Justice, DJJ, the Department of Corrections, which operates the prisons in Kentucky. We have the Department of Criminal Justice Training, the State Police, the Department of Public Advocacy, and then we have the Department of Justice Administration, which houses our department, our Office of Drug Control Policy, our Office of the State Medical Examiner, the Parole Board, and last, the Child Fatality and Near Fatality Panel. As I said, the size and scale of the Justice Cabinet is vast. It includes over 900 physical structures. We have approximately 10,000 acres and locations in over 40 counties across the Commonwealth. Our facilities include state police posts, residential youth facilities for juveniles, day treatment youth facilities for juveniles, adult correctional facilities, reentry service centers for those leaving incarceration and reentering society, criminal justice training facilities, crime labs, medical examiners' offices, and other administrative offices. Our capital plan submission includes proposed maintenance pools and capital projects from 4 departments: the Department of Juvenile Justice, the State Police, the Department of Criminal Justice Training, and the Department of Corrections. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca to start us out.
Okay, so this slide shows our first biennium request for maintenance pools for 4 of the departments who are requesting maintenance pool funds. So above all else, we continue to prioritize the safety and longevity of our buildings, and this requires addressing the backlog of maintenance projects that have accumulated over decades of underfunded capital budgets. The Justice Cabinet is unique in that many of our facilities that Deputy Secretary mentioned operate on a 24/7 basis, and their continued operations are critical for life safety. The 24/7 facilities experience more daily wear and tear, but they also have to remain operational even when they're faced with a leaking roof or a failing HVAC system. Keeping these facilities in safe working order requires a high level of effort from our staff, who work tirelessly to prioritize available funding in response to immediate needs and in anticipation of potential system or building failures. These factors, in combination with the Cabinet's large physical plant and aging facilities, require a large volume of maintenance pool and life cycle replacement requests, which cannot be delayed any further. Inability to address maintenance and lifestyle replacements results in more extensive requests for major projects in the future. Buildings continue to deteriorate while demand for services increases, and delays compound and complicate the issues that need to be fixed. Adequate maintenance pool funding acts as a measure of prevention for long-term issues.
Next, we'd like to discuss our priority projects for each department included in the capital plan. These projects are not wish list items, but truly necessary requests based on evidence-based assessments of our facilities and program needs. Each department has worked closely with finance facilities to determine how to best address their physical plant, and will continue to work with finance and the Office of the State Budget Director to develop any necessary updates to the budget estimates prior to the submission of our biennial budget request. So the first department we'd like to start with is DJJ, the Department of Juvenile Justice. This department serves as the juvenile corrections system for the state. DJJ has requested funding for a high acuity mental health treatment facility, and this facility would close a gap that we have in available services for justice-involved youth in Kentucky who are suffering from severe mental health issues. Currently, there is no alternative placement for youth who are ordered to juvenile detention but that need psychiatric care. Psychiatric hospitals in Kentucky or across the country are not required to accept DJJ youth, but detention centers or juvenile jails cannot provide appropriate care for these youth who truly need hospitalization for severe mental illness. And we have had youth who we have tried sending out of state to facilities and to numerous facilities in state, and they're rejected from before they're even admitted, or they're removed after admittance. So the high acuity mental health treatment facility is included in our plan. DJJ has also requested 2 female detention center facilities, which are critical to DJJ's ability to transition to a regional model of detention. And the regional model is what was set out in legislation, which basically means detaining youth the closest to their home county, putting them in a juvenile detention center closest to their home county. And so the statute requires that we have a regional model of detention, but also to separate males and females who are in a detention facility, and also to separate high and low level offenders who cannot be housed together. The female population in DJJ, so females who are charged basically with what would be a crime if they were an adult, has risen significantly since 2023. And the current single female facility that we have in Ashland does not have the necessary capacity required to absorb any further increases.
Okay, the next department we're going to highlight is our Department of Corrections. The Department of Corrections has developed a request in accordance with its strategic plan for facilities and a set of very extensive facility assessments that were completed by specialized consultants that have expertise in mechanical and structural systems. So the largest portion of DOC's request focuses on critical replacements of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, as well as roofs and other building repairs. There's a significant amount of repair and replacement work required at each institution due to years of underfunded maintenance pools and then deferred life cycle replacements. DOC's requested projects in the first biennium, which is highlighted on the screen here, that address the facility issues that would disrupt services the most if they were not remedied. And each institution's request is built from that detailed assessment report that was done with consultants. And there's additional projects that are included in the following bienniums that will ensure that all of the deficiencies identified in the facility assessment reports are fully addressed. Some other projects that Department of Corrections has requested that we want to highlight. DOC is requesting $15.7 million to complete the necessary Kentucky State Penitentiary Utilities Infrastructure Replacement Project. Without this replacement, there's a serious threat to stability of the foundations and structure, and as well as potential harm to the health of the staff and inmates there. DOC is also requesting additional funds to complete the HVAC and facade projects at the Eastern Kentucky Correctional Complex, and those are critical to ensure the longevity of that facility. In addition, it's been determined that the most economical and feasible way to remedy the extensive and critical repairs that are required in the kitchen at Eastern Kentucky Correctional Complex without significant disruption to operations and relocation of inmates is to construct a replacement kitchen on that property. DOC is also requesting funds for the design of a new dormitory of the Kentucky Correctional Institute for Women, and that would help us reduce the backlog of female inmates that are pending admission to the state system. Finally, the General Assembly funded the design of a new prison in Eastern Kentucky in the previous budget. DOC is currently in the early stages of design and site identification, but preliminary estimates indicate the cost to construct to be in the range of $500 million.
Okay, moving along, we'd like to talk about the Department of Criminal Justice Training. DOCJT is located in Richmond on the campus of Eastern Kentucky University, and DOCJT provides basic and advanced training for law enforcement officers and telecommunicators across the Commonwealth. On the Richmond campus, DOCJT is requesting funds to replace the only flat track that's currently used for law enforcement training. The EKU is going to be removing the new model lab school that's on EKU's campus. For any of you who are familiar with that, they're constructing a new one, and that's going to require that our flat track be removed. So DOCJT is requesting funds to replace that flat track. They are also requesting a new access road that would be required to maintain access between the DOCJT facilities on the campus. DOCJT has a newly opened Madisonville campus, which provides training opportunities to recruits in Western Kentucky, as we've been trying to provide them the same opportunities as we have in Richmond without the travel burden on law enforcement in Western Kentucky. So in Western Kentucky, DOCJT is requesting funds to add a flat track and an indoor firing range to the scope of the new Western Kentucky Training Center currently in design. The General Assembly appropriated $50 million of the requested $147 million in the previous budget, and that will provide for an administration, classroom building, and a multi-purpose training space But we do need the funds to add the flat track. And this addition will bring Western Kentucky's training facility closer in line to being able to give the recruits the same training opportunities that they have been afforded in Richmond. Access to the adequate training facilities, we believe, is vital for maintaining law enforcement certifications, keeping their skills up to date, and ensuring that new recruits receive basic training instruction in a timely manner so that they can become employed in their local departments. And Rebecca's going to talk about the state police now.
Kentucky State Police is requesting additional funding for the completion of the SERV's Emergency Radio System Replacement Project, and that will offer a resilient, interoperable, secure, and robust statewide communications platform to all disciplines of first responders, including both state and local fire, emergency management, EMS, and police. And that includes state, local, and federal, and that would be through the form of a P25 digital encrypted trunked radio system. So the map that is shown shows the current coverage. That's kind of the green, blue, purple splotch on there. And then the squares highlight those sites that are involved in the SERVS project. So green, those are existing sites. Blue, those are existing sites that are receiving new equipment in the current biennium from the project that's currently funded. And then orange, that kind of bump out that's highlighted, has a lot of those orange squares in it. Those are new sites to be constructed. So that is a very extensive project. Kentucky State Police is also requesting additional funding to complete the construction of KSP Post 7 in Richmond and KSP Post 10 in Harlan. KSP is also requesting funds to replace the Frankfort-based headquarters and Post 12 buildings with one combined facility, as both current facilities require significant repairs and need life cycle replacement. KSP Post 12 was completed in 1960. That's that photo at the bottom there. And KSP headquarters was initially constructed in 1968 to be used as a hotel. And that's the photo at the top. This combined facility proposal is a more efficient use of space and funding compared to asking for two independent replacement projects. KSP also needs to replace their leased crime lab in Jefferson County with ideally a new construction building on state property, which would ensure adequate safe space for lab technicians and allow for expansion of crime lab capacity to meet the current demands. Other requests for Kentucky State Police include design for increased lab capacity in the Frankfort Crime Lab, software replacement, telecommunicator technology upgrades, and electronic and physical storage expansions.
We have agency staff in the audience from the State Police, from the Department of Criminal Justice Training, and from the Department of Juvenile Justice. So if you have any questions, we welcome those. But otherwise, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the needs of the Justice Cabinet with you today.
Thank you so very much. We do have a couple questions. Sure. Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the KSP training centers in Richmond and now the one in Madisonville, do members of the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, like their officers, the game wardens, are they also trained in these facilities?
At the DOCJT facilities?
Yes.
Okay. We'll defer to Commissioner Mike Bossy, who's the Commissioner of the Department of Criminal Justice Training, will be able to answer that for you.
We have right now in the state of Kentucky, we have a serious shortage of game wardens, and I just wondered if that's where they receive their training.
Yes, sir, they do, and we'll start another class in just a month from now, filled with wildlife.
Okay, so since the Department of Fish and Wildlife is a separate entity and does not receive state funding, do they then participate in those costs of that training for their officers?
It's free from the CLEFT fund.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Can you speak to the discrepancy or difference in the high cost for the Eastern Kentucky Correctional Facility kitchen replacement at $47 million and the new construction of a new headquarters in Post 12 for KSP at $42 million?
we're going to call up the Department of Corrections expert. Matt, you want to come up and just state your name, please?
Yeah, he'll be better able to explain kind of the extent and what that project includes in that kitchen space.
Is this on? The kitchen space at EKCC, because of the nature of where it's located inside the facility, the construction cost is dramatically higher across the board. You can automatically assume a 33% increase in construction costs because you're working within a facility. Also, a lot of those costs that we had came up with the EKCC kitchen was a comparison between keeping the kitchen there and moving the offenders someplace else, which we would have to rent equipment, which would increase the cost as well. So in the long run, it would be cheaper to build a new kitchen adjacent and then repurpose that existing kitchen into a new space like a canteen.
Great question. Anyone else? Looks like that's all. Thank you so very much for your presentation today. At this time, we have those from the Personnel Cabinet to come forward and make sure to state your names in the microphones, and then you may proceed.
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Secretary Robert Long with the Personnel Cabinet.
Good afternoon. I'm Jamie Caldwell, the Commissioner of our, I'm drawing a blank of where I am. Our Department of Human Resources Administration. I know where I work.
Chris Chamness, Commissioner of the Department of Employee Insurance.
Good afternoon. Robbie Perkins, Director of the Division of Technology Services.
And the Personnel Cabinet's here today to ask for funding to replace the Kentucky Human Resources Information System, or commonly called CHRIS. As you all likely know, the CHRIS is our primary HR core system for payroll and benefits for 48,000 employees, both in the executive, judicial, and legislative branches. It is also the system that is utilized by our Department of Employee Insurance in operating the Kentucky Employee Health Plan. That Kentucky Employee Health Plan covers 192,000 members with over roughly 300,000 covered lives. The software we're currently operating on was acquired in 2007 and implemented fully in 2011. And we now are faced with the idea that this software is coming to end of life, and we have no real option but to replace our systems going forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to our IT and our other our experts here to provide some more context.
Thank you, Deputy. So as the Deputy said, we did go live with CHRIS in 2011. Just a few years after that, in 2015, SAP notified us that our current version of the software was slated for end of support in 2027. So that's not long from here. We do have a grace period from SAP that we can have extended maintenance and support from them until 2030. There's no options after that. And then when we talk about software maintenance and support for a system that is as complicated as CHRIS is, as you all know, we're bombarded with bad actors trying to get our information every day. So it's imperative to a system at this scope that we have recurring security patches and yearly taxing updates. When we talk about the taxing service that a system like this provides, the Commonwealth has one of the most local taxing authorities in the country. When you look at 120 counties, 400 plus cities, 171 school districts, they all can levy taxes. So that service and the support and maintenance from an SAP or an HR system is an imperative to get those taxing updates. Again, as we said, we do not have an option for support and maintenance for this system after 2030. And as we were notified in 2015, it was part of my job to educate and ensure leadership across the enterprise, especially in our partner agency, COT and Finance, that they were aware and obviously update to administration changes that this was coming. If you look at the project cost, the total forecasted cost is $151 million. Of course, like most things, the bulk of that is professional services or the labor to install over a 4-year project term, and then $54 million for software vendor for the 192,000 public sector employees, a part of our KHP health insurance, our members, as well as 40-something thousand plus employees. If you look at the timeline for a project of this scope, it involves all 3 branches of government, all agencies, multiple stakeholders. We also run payroll for 24 local elected officials, sheriffs and offices. So the amount of change management training and ensuring our stakeholders' requirements are met for this system across the board. It is a lengthy project, so we hope to kickstart this project in July of 2026, of course, when the next biennium starts. The implementation to satisfy that 2030 date before we end support from SAP would be July of 2030. And if you look at our total plan, a system to this scope, you'll have things that need to be changed, tweaked. You'll have a stabilization period. So that will be 2031 through 2032.
And if I could, I'd like to add just a little more detail with our Kentucky Employee Health Plan. It is the largest insurance carrier in the state of Kentucky. I've noticed like the number of lives it affects, but we also provide we have to mass bill and have activities for more than 649 public sector companies that participate in that health plan. So it is again, Kentucky's largest health insurance plan in the Commonwealth, and so support to it is critical.
Thank you so much for your presentation today. Does anyone on the panel have questions? Senator Boswell.
Obviously, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, a very expensive project. Has any consideration ever been given to contracting these payroll services? I mean, I know it's extremely complicated. You've made that quite clear. And so some big companies have chosen these options, private companies that they contract this out. Now, I would be happy for maybe some of the employees, but has that been a consideration when you're talking about $151 million?
Yeah, I will defer that question to the commissioner, but I would answer that from a technology perspective. Yeah, it's been asked a lot of times, and if you look at services that process payroll, processing a payroll check is the easiest part of HR. It's all the things that lead up to it, and with the system that covers 27 employers, we reorg the government. Many times we have hundreds of departments, so that scope from a technical perspective and core HR that drives ultimately the payroll check, it really increases that cost, even if you were to outsource it, and those companies typically charge per employee per month charge for that for the number of payrolls you run. But that doesn't take into consideration of how you get to those payroll numbers. Commissioner?
Correct. Thank you. Yes, it's the intertwining of all the other pieces, as he's already mentioned. It's being able to keep up with structure, being able to keep up with job classification changes, salary schedules, and all of those happening a lot of times at the same time. And an integrated system is able to pick all of those things up instantly and ensure pay is correctly for all of our active employees, which is our key priority.
Thank you for your answer. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. You still have to have people to get this information into the system. So they can't come up with it. So it is very complicated.
Correct.
So thank you for your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
What would the projected life expectancy of your new system be?
Well, we hoped that the one we had now would be a bit longer. You know, you look at a project like this, it's usually once in a lifetime career. However, I've gotten lucky enough to have to do it twice. But if you look at the years that Chris would have been live when we go live, you're looking at 23 years old. And we replaced a 30-year-old mainframe system, if you will. Moving forward with the solutions for an HR system in the future, it's a different software model. So we would hope that we would be in a long-term relationship with our next vendor in a cloud type based solution, web-based, where we get automatic updates with that vendor. And as they evolve their software, we would evolve with them. So it's a game changer, if you will, from how we support Chris, because we bought the software from SAP today, and then we've upgraded it as we go along until we stop getting upgrades. But with a cloud solution for the next HR system, we would hope that we would get at least this amount of time, 20, 30 years out of the next solution.
Thank you. Anyone else? I have a quick question. I'm not that technologically savvy, but is there any way to integrate existing systems, existing hardware with the other system rather than completely gutting the old system? There's no way to do that?
There isn't. One thing we are doing because of the, when you look at how an employee gets paid here in the Commonwealth, we're just one leg of the three-leg stool, if you will. We integrate with the finance cabinet's financial system, EMARS. They process our payroll and then send a check writer file in which it's called to the state treasurer's office, who submits that either by checks or mostly ACH payments. So we are actually interfacing with over 100 different institutions and agencies today. But when you look at the core SAP solution today, that's Chris, it's dead software, and we're really behind the eight ball, if you will, because we've not received any functionality enhancements since 2016. So for short answer, there's just not anything we're going to be able to do with it after 2030.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Thank you all so much today for coming and giving us your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but definitely not least, School Facilities Construction Commission. Make your way to the table for us and state your name for the record, and then you may begin.
My name is Christy Russell. I'm the executive director, the new executive director. This is my first capital plan, so if I fumble, please ignore me. Just so you all understand who we are, the SFCC was established in 1985. We are an agency that assists all 171 school districts with their unmet school facility needs across the state. All their K through 12 buildings, non-athletic facilities. We only do core facilities, roofs. We do elementary schools. Anything that they can't pay for themselves, we try to help them with. We expect to receive funds from the General Assembly in order to do that. In the last budget session, we received $40 million. The unmet facility need in 2023, which was the last time it was calculated, was around $5 billion. So we do give regular offers of assistance to school districts in the form of participation of debt service in a bond issue. So we assist them with helping them do a school project by paying like a mortgage payment for them. We do it for them twice a year. The first request that we're asking for is the $40 million to be funded that was given in the last session. The operating budget impact for that would be about $3.2 million to get the $40 million funded. The second request that we're going to have, and my commission meets quarterly, and so I think I'm going to do a potential amendment to our capital plan and request an additional $60 million. Our normal offer of assistance is around $100 million each biennium that we give out to all 171 school districts. We only received 40 in the last one. So we would like to amend it and request for an additional 60 to get back to the 100 million that we have been getting. We also received a pool of funds in the last session for area technology centers. And we received $49.4 million for 48 districts to apply to our commission to receive funding. We received 32 applications, and our commission was able to fund 9 grants with the $49 million. They had a $10 million max that they could request. So the 23 districts that did not get funded, who still need that project, encompass the $167 million that we're requesting in the next biennium. For the 28-30 biennium, we also are requesting another pool of funds for career and technical education. There were a lot of districts who did not qualify for the pool for the ATC funds, nor did they qualify for a pool that we had in 2021, which was for local area vocational education centers. There are a group of districts, about 50 or 60, that have career and technical education in their high school, in their district, but they do not have a facility of their own. And they would like to expand their program. They have 5 career paths. They just have no place to put all these kids that want to take classes. So the commission would like to request another $100 million pool in the 28-30 biennium to give those districts the opportunity to expand their programs as well. The legislature has been very generous in giving us 2 pools in the past, and we would like 1 more pool to encompass those districts that could not participate in the other ones or that did not receive any funding. We also are requesting the continuation of the $100 million in offers. That's our regular, standard offer of assistance that we have been given over years and years that has been cut tremendously over the last few bienniums. So we would like to see to go back to that. We would also like to ask for another $100 million for the 30-32 biennium. And that, it costs about $8 million. It's a lot of money. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at 171 school districts and a $5 billion need, I mean, this is an unmet need. That $5 billion encompasses every dollar that the school districts can give themselves. This is how much is left over. You can't pass enough nickels, and you cannot do enough equalization to help all of these districts be able to put a roof on their school. So that's what we're here for. We just need the funding to do it. And so that's what we're asking you all for. The last slide, I just gave you a chart that shows kind of how our offers of assistance have worked. This is regular money. You can see out of it goes up and down frequently with the cost of construction right now. At some, we're paying between $400 and $500 a square foot. When you have $40 million, that's not going to get us very far. So that's why we need all of the other money in our plan. So,
right.
Or plus some.
Right.
So that it's very simple, very easy, but that's what we need. So that's SFCC's capital plan.
Well, thank you for your presentation,
Yes.
and those are overwhelming numbers.
They are.
For
me as well.
for me, and I can tell you it's a little uncomfortable saying it.
It is.
But for me, like when you look at these projects and you ask for a blanket $100 million,
Mm-hmm.
do you have a ranking system to where you could say that of that $100 million, we need $25 million now? That's immediate. We can put off a year, maybe 2 for another $20 million. Do you have a ranking system rather than coming to us and say we need $100 million, $100 million, $100 million?
Right.
Is there things that we can attack immediately and take care of those things rather than just giving?
Well, there is a system out there. I'm not sure how many districts participate in the system. There is the KFIX system that's run through the Department of Education that does rank school districts. You have to participate yourself, so school districts have to put their information into the system
Sure.
to be considered. I know that the legislature has used that in the past to give districts a line item in the budget. And that's a good way to do it. I would prefer it all to come to us, and then we look at the participation of the need across the entire state. So we can take that $100 million, and we know how much each district needs, and we can dole that out that way. If we had 2 or 3 or 400 million, we could make a bigger dent in the overall offers of assistance to all K through 12 school districts. When you do the smaller pools, we're only hitting a few. When we do the line items, we're only hitting that district specifically. So the 100 million pool, as you call it, would be able to hit everybody. It's, this unmet facility need has been huge for years. I've been doing this for 22 years. I've been with this agency that long. It's never really dropped. We're 7 billion 10 years ago. We're 5 billion now. And that's probably a low estimate, to be honest. I don't know the answer to this question. I know that we can throw a lot of money at it. I think as the cost of construction goes up and as these buildings deteriorate, there's never really going to be a way to fix the system itself. But no, there's not really a piece you can pull and say, I want to give, this group of districts this amount of money and start. It's hard to phase projects now too. I think lots of districts phase projects. But when you have to order supplies and get labor and all those things, phasing and space, it's hard to do as well. So 100 million sounds like a lot, but when it costs 40 million to build a middle school, one middle school, 100 million is a drop in the bucket. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your answer, and
Yes.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Senator Boswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm assuming, and I think I'm right about this, that most of this money will be going to the districts that are, we'll say, poorer, only in the sense that the seat formula in the local tax base, like you said, you can't add enough
Correct.
nickels in some cases because they just don't have a property tax base
Correct.
enough to. So these are funds that are going to districts that are not able to generate enough revenue
Correct.
versus let's say the higher population districts that seem to have.
The last time we did this, we had 28 districts that did not have a facility need that the SFCC needed to help with. So those are the districts that can do this themselves. The Warren counties of the world, the Oldham counties of the world that don't need state's assistance to build a facility. So yes, you are correct. They do go to the poorer districts. And Robertson County can pass a nickel and it'll be $40,000 for them.
Right.
So that's what we're here for. We're kind of the CARA of facilities, even though CARA is not, it's old.
Thank you.
But yes, that's the truth.
Anyone else? I see no more questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For joining us today. And our next meeting date is scheduled for 1 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 11th, in this same meeting room, and will include a special report from the Commonwealth Office of Technology and more agency overviews. Do I have a motion for adjournment? First and a second, we are adjourned.
Good job.
Did I do all right?
Very well.